The sun was dipping low on the horizon, casting long orange streaks across the dusty fields of southern Texas. Birds circled lazily in the sky, and the rows of corn swayed gently with the wind. On the edge of that farmland stood a modest house, wooden and weathered, yet alive with memories. For most who passed by, it was just another veteran's homestead, quiet, forgotten, tucked away from the chaos of the world. But for those who truly knew the man who lived there, it was sacred ground. His name was Daniel Hayes, though the locals just called him Dan to them. He was a retired veteran who grew vegetables and raised cattle. But behind his weathered smile and calm eyes lay a history few dared to speak of. Daniel Hayes was once the most feared Delta Forces commander in U.S. military history, a man who had led countless missions into enemy strongholds, who had faced the fire of cartels, warlords, and terrorists alike, and always emerged alive. He carried scars no one could see, both on his body and in his soul. After 25 years of service, Dan wanted nothing more than peace. He had buried brothers in arms, endured the silence of empty barracks, and lived long enough to realize that glory was hollow when there was no one left to share it with. His wife had passed years ago, and his daughter, Elena, lived in the city, visiting when she could. His farm became his sanctuary, a place where he could finally breathe without the weight of war pressing on his chest. But evil has a way of finding peace in testing it. One warm evening, as the last of the light faded and the smell of roasting beef filled the farmhouse, Daniel heard something unusual, the low growl of multiple engines approaching. His instincts sharpened in an instant. He set down his fork, listening closely. It wasn't the sound of neighbors or friendly visitors. This was the heavy rumble of trucks, too many, too coordinated. And then, headlights broke through the dark. A convoy of armored pickups rolled up his dirt driveway, their windows tinted, their bed rails fitted with mounted weapons. Men in masks spilled out, rifles slung casually across their chests. Daniel didn't need introductions. He had seen their kind 100 times before. These were cartel enforcers, and they weren't here for a friendly chat. The leader, a stocky man with a scar running across his cheek, stepped forward and shouted in broken English. "Old man, this land, it's ours now. You give, or we take." His voice was laced with arrogance, the kind born from spilling blood without consequence. Daniel didn't move. He stood on his porch, arms folded, calm as a summer breeze. To them, he was just another rancher, frail, aged, no threat at all. But inside, his blood was steady, his breathing measured, his mind already calculating the distance to each weapon, the positions of every man, the weak points in their formation. The cartel had made a mistake. They thought they were raiding a farm. They had no idea they were stepping onto the battlefield of the deadliest Delta Forces commander in history. But Daniel also faced a challenge he had never faced before, not in Afghanistan, not in Iraq, not in South America. He was alone. No squad at his back, no air support, no reinforcements. Just one man, against 20 heavily armed cartel soldiers. And though the instincts were still there, his body wasn't the same as it used to be. His knees ached from years of jumps. His shoulders stiffened with every move. The warfighter inside him had to fight with an old soldier's body. He thought of calling the sheriff, but Daniel knew how deep the cartel's roots ran. By the time law enforcement arrived, his land would be ash, and his blood spilled in the dirt. This was his fight. The cartel men advanced, sneering, one even laughing as he kicked at Daniel's fence. "We warned you, viejo," the scar-faced leader growled. "Now you pay." Daniel didn't reply. He turned slowly and walked back inside the house, as though surrendering. The men laughed and spat at the ground. But inside, Daniel's sanctuary transformed into something else entirely. His farmhouse was simple, but he had prepared for a day like this. In a hidden room behind the old bookshelf lay the tools of his past life, rifles, knives, gear he had sworn never to touch again. His hands trembled as he opened the chest, not from fear, but from the flood of memories. Brothers screaming in firefights. Missions gone wrong. Faces he would never see again. He had left this world behind to protect what little peace he could find. But peace was gone now, burned away by the sound of cartel engines in his yard. The old soldier strapped on his vest, loaded his rifle, and whispered to himself, "One last mission. The night exploded. The cartel soldiers, expecting a coward, were met instead with lightning. Daniel moved with precision, slipping through shadows, using his land as a battlefield he knew better than anyone. He cut power to the house, plunging everything into darkness. Shots cracked in the night as men fell one by one, confusion spreading through their ranks. But the challenge grew. The cartel men were ruthless, and they adapted quickly. Grenades shattered the barn. Fire spread across the field. Daniel was pushed harder than he had in years. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but he pressed on. Every move he made was calculated, every shot deliberate. He wasn't just fighting for land. He was fighting for the memory of